In our first episode, we explored the idea that character matters more than talent. We discussed how talent may create opportunities, but character ultimately determines what happens when those opportunities arrive. Today, I want to continue that conversation by exploring a question that has stayed with me throughout my years as a player, coach, educator, and student of the game. What is basketball actually for? At first glance, the answer seems obvious. Basketball is a sport, it's competition, it's entertainment, it's exercise. It's a game played by millions of people around the world. Yet, the longer I have been involved in basketball, the more I have become convinced that these answers, while true, are incomplete. Consider for a moment how much of ourselves we invest in sport. Athletes dedicate years of lives to training. Parents spend countless hours driving to practices and games. Coaches devote evenings, weekends, and sometimes entire careers to teaching and mentoring. Entire communities rally around teams and programs. If basketball were merely about putting a ball through a hoop, none of this would make much sense. There must be something more. Imagine a young athlete who begins playing basketball at the age of 8. Over the next 10 years, they attend practices, compete in games, experience victories and defeats, develop friendships, overcome setbacks, and learn what it means to be a part of a team. Then one day, perhaps after high school or university, their playing career comes to an end. And what remains? That question is worth considering because every athlete eventually faces it. No matter how talented, dedicated, or successful, every player will one day play their final game. The scoreboard will be turned off, the uniform will be put away, the stats will stop accumulating, and the season will end. Then what? If basketball disappears, what remains? Does discipline remain? Does resilience remain? Do friendships remain? Does character remain? Does faith remain? Does purpose remain? If the answer is yes, then perhaps basketball was never really about basketball in the first place. One of the most fascinating things about sport is that it teaches lessons while people are focused on something else. Most athletes enter the gym believing they are there to improve their shooting, passing, dribbling, or defensive skills. Coaches design practices to help players perform more effectively. Teams develop systems and strategies to increase their chances of success. All of those things matter, yet beneath the surface, something much deeper is taking place. Basketball is teaching people how to respond to failure. It is teaching them how to work with others. It is teaching them how to lead. And also, it is teaching them how to persevere. It's teaching them how to manage emotions, accept responsibility, communicate effectively, and contribute to something larger than themselves. The game becomes a classroom. Not a classroom in the traditional sense, but a classroom for life. One of the reasons I believe sport remains so important in our society is because there are very few environments where accountability is experienced so directly. Basketball is remarkably honest. It doesn't care about excuses. It doesn't care about intentions. The game reveals preparation. It reveals habits. It reveals effort. Over time, it teaches a lesson that applies far beyond athletics. Actions have consequences. This lesson is becoming increasingly important. We live in a world where people often search for explanations outside of themselves. Don't we all blame circumstances, other people, bad luck, or unfair situations? While those things certainly exist, basketball consistently reminds us that growth begins with personal responsibility. The athlete who improves is usually the athlete who takes ownership. The leader who grows is usually the leader who accepts responsibility. The student who succeeds is usually the student who develops consistent habits. The lesson appears in basketball, but it applies to life. Another reason basketball is more important than a game is because it creates community. In many ways, a basketball team represents a small society. Individuals with different personalities, backgrounds, strengths, weaknesses, beliefs, and experiences come together around a shared purpose. They learn to communicate. They learn to trust. They learn to sacrifice. They learn to navigate conflict. They learn to celebrate one another's successes. These are not basketball skills, these are human skills. When former athletes reflect on their playing careers, they often remember relationships more than results. They remember teammates. They remember road trips. They remember locker room conversations. They remember coaches who believed in them when they doubted themselves. It's not accidental. Human beings were created for relationship. We are not designed to journey through life alone. Sport reminds us the reality. It teaches us that meaningful accomplishments almost always, involve other people. Fate reinforces this idea in a powerful way. One of the central themes of fate is that life is not meant to revolve around ourselves. We are called to love, serve, encourage, and support others. Interestingly, the healthiest teams often operate according to similar principles. The best teams are rarely built upon self interest, they are built upon trust, sacrifice, and a commitment to something greater than individual recognition. This brings us to another important lesson: adversity. No athlete enjoys adversity. No athlete enjoys losing. No athlete enjoys injuries or any disappointment. Yet, some of the most valuable lessons emerge from these experiences, don't they? In fact, I sometimes wonder whether success receives too much attention in sport. Success is enjoyable, but adversity is often the greater teacher, isn't it? A missed shot can teach humility. A difficult season can teach perseverance. An injury can teach patience. A setback can reveal strengths that would otherwise remain hidden. One of the qualities we admire most in people are forged through challenge rather than comfort: resilience, courage, determination, patience, faith. These qualities are rarely developed when everything is going well. They are developed when circumstances become difficult. Perhaps that's why so many former athletes remain grateful for experiences that they were painful at the time. Looking back, they realize that the challenge was also the teacher. As we think about these ideas, I want to return to the original question: what is basketball actually for? Is it for winning? Certainly winning matters. Is it for competition? Absolutely. Is it for performance? Of course. But I would argue that basketball serves a much larger purpose. Basketball is a vehicle for human development. It helps shape character. It develops leadership. It teaches accountability. It builds relationships. It creates community. It strengthens resilience. It provides opportunities to serve others. Most importantly, it helps people become who they are capable of becoming. From a faith perspective, this is where the conversation becomes especially meaningful. Faith continually directs our attention away from performance and toward transformation. Sport often asks what we achieve, faith often asks who we become. Sport measures results, faith examines character. Sport celebrates accomplishments, faith values purpose. The two are not opposed to one another. In many ways, they complement one another beautifully. Excellence matters. Competition matters. Achievement matters. But they are not the final destination. The destination is growth. The destination is character. The destination is becoming a person capable of positively influencing others. Perhaps that's why the greatest coaches are remembered long after the final score has been forgotten. They understood that they were never simply coaching basketball, they were helping to shape lives. As we close today's episode, I want to leave you with one final thought. Imagine two athletes. One athlete wins championships, earns recognition, and achieves every competitive goal imaginable. Yet, they leave the game without humility, without meaningful relationships, and without a strong sense of purpose. Another athlete never reaches the same competitive heights. They never become famous. They never receive major recognition. Yet they leave the game with discipline, resilience, integrity, lifelong friends, leadership skills, faith, and a desire to serve others. Which athlete gained more from basketball? The answer to that question may reveal what we believe sport is truly for. Because when the final game has been played, when the scoreboard is turned off, and when the trophies collect dust on a shelf, what remains is not the athlete we once were. What remains is the person we become. And perhaps that was the purpose of the game all along. Thank you for joining me for episode 2 of Beyond the Scoreboard. Until next time, continue pursuing excellence and continue investing in people. And remember that some of life's most important lessons are found beyond the scoreboard.